Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrath Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Saturday, the 25th of Muharram 1448, corresponding with the 11th of July 2026. Our Hazrat Wala is speaking about the hikmat and the philosophy and the secret behind ourselves being created. And here Allah Ta'ala informing His servants and alerting them about why have they been created, so that they may not be negligent regarding the wisdom and the secret behind Allah's objective regarding them, that perhaps they stray from the path of Hidayat. Our Hazrat Wala is saying, to go astray, bhatak jana aasan hai. For a person to go astray is not difficult at all. Allah Ta'ala ke saath jaisa rehna, hum waise rahe. How we should live and stay in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah give us the hidayat to live and present ourselves and stay with Allah in that manner. We should think, how must I stay with Allah? And when a person has the objective in front of him, then he will practice accordingly. Now Allah give us all that tawfiq. कामयाबी तो काम से होगी, न के हुस्ने कलाम से होगी, जिक्र के इल्तिजाम से होगी, फिक्र के इह्तिमाम से होगी. It has been related that 4 amongst the malaika were having some discussion at some time. So one said that if only this creation of Allah was never ever created. Another one then added to the discussion and said, okay, if they are created, at least they understand why they have been created. The third one then added his part and says that if only they understood why they have been created, they could practice according to what they knew. And the fourth one then said that if only they were not practicing according to what they had knowledge of, the least they could have done is made tawbah for their actions. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create insan and man. Allah Ta'ala did not create insan and man for themselves. Rather, He created them so that they can worship Him and they can proclaim His oneness. Now, if you buy a servant and a slave to serve you, and you purchase him so that he can be your servant, now, when you purchase him, you did not purchase him so that he can serve himself. You purchased him so that he can be your servant, your slave. Now, this here is actually a proof against every such person who becomes so involved with his own self from the haqq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is so much in his desires instead of being in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this maqsad, why we have been sent here and why Allah Ta'ala has created us, if we can just understand this, that why have we been created, and the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam were actually sent for this purpose. Now there is much negligence in this regard. Allah Ta'ala removed this negligence of ours. Those people who used to come to Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, he used to continue making them aware and reminding them that, listen, you people have come. When you go to some person, at least understand, why have you gone there? What's your reason? What do you wish to achieve? It is for this reason that Ibrahim bin Adham rahmatullah alayh heard. And this was actually the reason of him changing his life and making tawbah. Once, when he embarked on a journey going for hunting, he heard a caller from the unseen. At that time, when he was mounting his horse, he's mounting his mount, and what does the caller from the unseen say? Ya Ibrahim, O Ibrahim, Ali hadha khuliqta? Have you been created for this? Am bihadha umirta? Or have you been commanded with this? And then he hears another calling saying, Ya Ibrahim, ma li hadha khuliqta? Wala bihadha umirta? You have not been created for this. Neither have you been commanded with this. Now the intelligent person, a samajdar person, a faqih, is actually that person, man fahima sirr al-ijad fa'amila lahu, the person who understands the secret of him coming into existence, the secret of him being created, and he practices accordingly. That is an intelligent person. وَهَذَا هُوَ الْفِقْهُ الْحَقِيقِي. So this here is a good understanding. This is a genuine understanding that he has, and that Allah Ta'ala gives to a person, and whoever Allah has given this to, whoever has been granted this, has been granted a great wealth. And it is regarding this that Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala used to say, لَيْسَ الْفِقْهُ بِكَثْرَةِ الرِّوَايَةِ. That fiqh, jurisprudence, understanding is not that you learned or you can quote many riwayat. إِنَّمَا الْفِقْهُ نُورٌ يَضَعُهُ اللَّهُ فِي الْقَلْبِ. It is, this fiqh is actually a nur which Allah Ta'ala places in the heart of a person. Kitne umda baat. What a wonderful thing that has been said here. Maqsad samajh le. Samajh mein aa jaye. Tab to. Now all of this so wonderful and so great, it's in its place. We understand this maqsad. If we really understand it, then only. This kitab is the kitab of Hazrat Tanvi. Hazrat Haji Imdadullah instructed him to translate this kitab. وَسَمِعْتُ شَيْخَنَا أَبَا الْعَبَّاسِ. I heard my Shaykh Abu al-Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala an saying, الفقيه من فقأ الحجاب عن عيني قلبه. The true faqih and the person who has true understanding is actually that person from whose two eyes the veil has been taken away, and he can understand. He can understand, why have I been created? So the person who understands the secret, the reason for him being created, then he will find within himself nothing other than obedience to Allah, and that Allah has not created him except so that he can serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This type of an understanding will be the reason of him being abstinent in the dunya, the reason for him advancing towards the akhirat, and the reason for him abandoning his own whims and fancies, his own huzuz, his portions of it. He'll be too concentrated. It will be the reason of him occupying himself in the hukuk and in the rights of his master Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having deep thought regarding or pertaining to the akhirat, and قائما بالاستعداد, and he will start preparing. So much so that regarding the mashayikh, it was said to one of them, or rather he said, لو قيل لي, if it had to be said to me, غدا تموت, tomorrow you'll die, tomorrow you are going to die, لم أجد مستزادا, I will find no change in myself. Rather, I am doing and living and making amal to its fullest. Rather, I am waiting, prepared to go and meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some have said that his mother said to him, Ya bunay, oh my beloved son, ma laka la ta'kulul khubs? What's it? How come you don't eat bread? So he went on to say that chewing the bread, between chewing bread and just taking some of the powder and putting it into water and drinking it, there's a very, very big difference. There's an amount of time, such an amount of time, that I can actually recite 50 ayat of the Quran Majid. فَهَؤُلَاءِ قَوْمٌ. Now these were these great personalities that they turned their focus on the terrifying day of Qiyamah. The fearful day of Qiyamah was such that it turned their minds away from this dunya. The mulaqat and the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of all the world, the heavens and the earth, that thought had not allowed them to look at this dunya. And it did not allow them to take and pursue the pleasures of this world. It did not allow them to turn towards all these type of things in the dunya. From amongst the Arifin, one of them have said that I entered upon one of the mashayikh at his home, and then I stood up so that I could fill or draw water for him. Nevertheless, the sheikh stood up so that he could fill the water. So I objected and I said, I will do it. And he held the rope in his hands, and in that particular house there was a well and a olive tree that had spread out in the yard there of that particular house. So I said to him, "Oh my master, Ya Sayyidi, why don't you fasten a portion of this rope to this tree?" So he went on to say, "Is there even a tree here? I have been living in this house for 60 years. And I don't even understand, I can't even understand up till today that there is a tree here in this house." Allahu Akbar. Now open your ears and listen. فَافْتَحْ رَحِمَكَ اللَّهُ سَمْعَكَ لِهَذِهِ الْحِكَايَاتِ وَأَمْثَالِهَا. Open the ears and listen attentively. May Allah have mercy on you to these hikayat and the likes of. You will come to know that Allah Ta'ala has such servants, and they are so engaged in Him that they are totally oblivious of everything else. The greatness of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has turned their minds away completely. The awe of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has shaken them, and the love of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has settled down deep in their hearts. جَعَلَنَا اللَّهُ مِنْهُمْ وَلَا أَخْرَجَنَا عَنْهُمْ. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst this group of people, such saintly people, and may He never ever take us out from there. Now, the like or the example of these type of hikayats is also another hikayat and waqiyah that we quote to you, that in a place called Sa'id, there was a man from amongst the awliya who would reside in a masjid. So there was a person who actually requested that, may I serve you? And may I just take a branch from one of these two palm trees that were there in the masjid. So he allowed him to do that. So he said then to the Shaykh, Ya Sayyidi, from which one of the two must I take? Must I take from the one which is yellow or the one which is reddish? So he said, Ya Bunayya, O my beloved son, Inna li bihadha al-masjid 40 aman, la a'rifu as-safra min al-hamra. What are you talking about, my brother, my beloved son? I have been here in this masjid for 40 long years. What are you talking about the red color and the orange color? I don't even know anything about that. It has been related about some of them, these great awliya, that he was with him in the house, and it was said, Man haula, awladu man haula, that who are all these? These are the children of who? For yuqalu lahu. So he's saying, the Shaykh is saying, who are all these people? They are the children of who? So it was said to him, awladuka, these are your children. فَكَانَ لَا يَعْرِفُهُمْ حَتَّى يُعَرَّفُ بِهِمْ لِإِشْتِغَالِهِ بِاللَّهِ تَعَالَى. So he was unable to recognize them until they introduced them to him once again. And all of this was because they were on such a high level, so preoccupied with the remembrance and the thought of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was because of this that some had said, when they seen all of this, they said, Haula il aitam. These are orphans. Wa in kana abuhum hayya. Even though their father is alive. Now there's much that can be said. However, if we continue like this here, the original object of this kitab will be lost, and I will suffice with that. So sirf sunana kafi nahi. Just for you to listen to all of this here is not sufficient. Allah Ta'ala amal ki tawfiq de. Allah allow us to practice. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to go for his walk, for a stroll. And then he would come and he used to say to us, that you people think I'm gone for a walk. Telne ke liye gaya. No. I went to go and make tilawat of Quran. I went there to go and make tafakkur and tadabbur. I went there to go and do this work of mine and that work of mine. Meaning his awrad and his wazaif, etc. कामयाबी तो काम से होगी, न कि हुस्न कलाम से होगी, जिक्र के इल्तिज़ाम से होगी, फिक्र के इहतिमाम से होगी. Allahumma tahhir qalbi an ghayrik. Oh Allah, purify my heart from all other than you. وَنَوِّرْ قَلْبِي بِنُورِ مَعْرِفَتِكَ. And illuminate my heart with the nur of your recognition. So our Ahlullah, they were running to something very, very great. They were running to something very, very great. They were not foolish. You know that waqiyah that we said of that Buzruk who answered to his mother when his mother asked him that, why do you chew this bread? I mean, why don't you eat bread? Why do you just do this? And he gave his reply, I heard this waqiyah abundantly from Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ahwal se bhi humko mutakayyaf farma de. Allah ta'ala let us decorate, embellish and adorn ourselves with these type of great spiritual states. What we have just read now. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab फरमाते थे कि हाल पैदा करो, create this kayfiyat and this hal in you. Now, these Buzurgan Deen that we stayed with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to take benefit from their a'mal and their kayfiyat, etc. Allah give us the tawfiq. Allah let us understand what is our objective, and Allah Ta'ala let us reach our goal. رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا وَهَبْ لَنَا مِن لَّدُنكَ رَحْمَةً إِنَّكَ أَنتَ الْوَهَّابُ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا إِنَّكَ أَنتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ بِحُرْمَةِ سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.